Um, and preparing to get disconcerted by YouTube because um, when I'm looking through this camera, I can see me and I can see my mouth moving. But when I look through that screen, I see me and my mouth moving 6 to 7 seconds slower. So whatever gesture I did 6 seconds ago is on that screen. And that's very disconcerting. Um, so I'm going to turn
Me
on
and my
that
mouth
screen.
moving
I can hear him
6 to 7 seconds slower.
um,
So whatever gesture I did 6 seconds ago is on that screen.
and I have to turn his sound
And
off. And I bury that screen so that all I can see is just the top of my head to just let me know that he's still on that screen. Okay. Um, and it looks like I'm ready to rock and roll. So let's go ahead and rock and roll. Um, and I'm still letting people in who I guess don't like listening to me rocking and rolling. So let me get beyond rocking and rolling and say hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of our um, pre-meditation discussion. And I try to do that um, every week for our weekly meditation. And today, our weekly meditation is on um, a global constitution, a constitution for the earth. Um, I'm going to try my best not to stray too far into lawyer land. Um, that's always an occupational hazard for me. But a constitution is a legal document. But I think that a constitution is also can be a consciousness document and a spiritual document. And um, because we don't treat it as such, because we don't think of it as such, we we wind up doing what we do, and we wind up getting what we've got. Um, 236 years ago, we, meaning the United States of America, tried out its third constitution. Um, First one, really our first document that created us was our Declaration of Independence. And there were some very powerful things that were said in that document. Um, Powerful things that we wound up not being able to live up to. Um, and um, we wound up fighting with ourselves through the Articles of Confederation, which bit the dust pretty early. Um, our second attempt at making a government failed. Um, the first one didn't fail; it just wasn't enough in it. There was a couple of pages. We needed more to form a nation. Um, and the third one is failing. We congratulate ourselves. We pat ourselves on the back because we have the oldest written constitution in the world. Aren't we so great? But I think that it's the oldest constitution in the world because we ignore so much of it. We put the laws in place, and then when we don't like those laws that we put in, somebody, some other part of we put in place, just ignore them. And oh, we have to pass some more laws. We had no need whatsoever for the civil rights movement, um, other than the fact that we were ignoring the Constitution for over 100 years. Um, uh, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments did everything we needed to do. And then we just said, oh, well, maybe if we pass some more laws, we'll actually pay attention to the first set of laws. And now maybe we'll need a third or fourth set. But really, what we need is a constitution that actually works. So, what I mean by that, what I mean by that is we have to um, uh, understand that if there is any um, split in our behavior, our values, and the things we say about ourselves, that split will show up in how our society behaves. There's a fundamental split in our society society around the issue of representation. Um, One man, one vote, but we didn't really mean that. We didn't mean one human being, one vote. All of those um, pesky women. It looks like my my screen is filled with pesky women here. Um, were we wanted to count them for representation so that we could say we are representing so many people. We didn't want to listen to them. We didn't ever consider the founders, never considered them part of we. Um, and as an African American, I recognize I am saying this um, as um, a descendant of people who were enslaved in this society. And as such, as such, we weren't counted in the Constitution, except we were, because all of the states that did not want us to be considered citizens wanted us to be considered citizens for representation purposes. Because if you didn't count the black population in the southern states, they would be the minority states. They would have less power in Congress. So that's when they came up with that rule that for the purposes of representation, blacks were four-fifths of a man. Um, you weren't a you there the founders recognized that there are so many blacks, there are so many slaves in our country, our society was built on it, that if you counted all of us, then the numbers get scary. So rather than get scared, they just said, how about half? And then the slave owner said, no, we need more representation than that. And so they've settled on four-fifths. And that, I'm not talking about the numbers, I'm talking about the consciousness in your heart and in your head, the consciousness that says, um, you don't count. You aren't really here. You don't matter. Or these other interests matter more than you. That kind of thinking led to almost all of the social and political and even violence that we've been perpetrating against ourselves in this society. Um, you'll remember that some of you actually have not been here, so you don't remember, you haven't known that, and I won't go into it right now because it takes too long to go into it, but Commonway has had a special relationship with the Light Center in Kansas, 100 acres of serious goodness, doing good things, and we have been trying to do good things together. This is near Baldwin, Kansas, in a rural area. Um, and it's an area that's about 5 or 10 miles away from where the Civil War started. Now, the Civil War allegedly started in 1861 by the fire with a firing on Fort Sumter, and that was years after um, what happened in Blackjack Creek, where two very informal armies, John Brown and his supporters on one side, and some other guy and his supporters on the other side, started shooting at each other over the issue of slavery. Um, and I thought it was really fitting to be focusing energy of a new society on the ground where blood was spilled on the around the issue of we're not together. Okay, we are separate. We need to be separate. Our identity has to be separate. And then another side says, no, 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 we're one, and we've got to kill in order to be one. Which is kind of an interesting way of expressing one's oneness. Um, and so so our challenge now in the 21st century, having gone through a few centuries of this basic tension that erupts from time to time, um, being at our, like lying right at our core, that at some point in time we've got to resolve it. And we thought we resolved it in 1865, comes back up. We thought we did it in the 1900s. It came back up, and then in the 1950s and 60s, and then it came back up. And at some point in time, it's going to get resolved. But it's going to get resolved when we not pass any more laws. If you pass another 25 pounds of laws, that's enough paperwork. That'll work. It doesn't work that way. What we need to do is shift our consciousness. And once we shift our consciousness, then the writing things down on pieces of paper will make sense. You won't even need to do that once you have your consciousness in gear. Um, most of the traffic laws, I don't mean to switch your gears too quickly here. Most of the traffic laws are for people who can't feel the norm of the road. Okay, can't feel the balance of the road. I'm a fast driver. I'm generally driving somewhere between 5 and 10 miles an hour faster than everybody else. That's not much. I tend to lead the pack. But yeah, I'm not drag racing down the road. I know how fast the road is going. I know that I'm not scaring people by, zooming up their tailpipes or anything like that. Um, so some people are middle of the road. Some people are, yeah, I'm a bit faster. Some people are a bit slower. They want to take more time. I get slower when I'm on an unfamiliar car. And then there's some people who are driving to endanger. Okay. And those are the people that the laws are made for, to keep folks in line, as opposed to everybody else. Um, if they said, okay, we're going to suspend the traffic laws for today, most of us would still follow them. We don't need a constitution. We don't need those traffic laws. We're going to do the right thing with each other regardless. It's the people that won't, or the people who don't know what the right thing is, or the people who say basically screw you. I don't care anything about you or what you're doing. I'm I'm out here for me. And the people who do that are um the people who do that don't have a sense of being a part of a larger society. Now, everything I just said is true. It's true in whatever society you're in, with whatever constitution you've got, etc. We are on another planet, have a whole other layer here. And that other layer is what is it that we do together? Not we, the people, but we, the beings, the living beings of planet Earth. What is our constitution? What is what's the way that we act toward each other? What's the way in that we act? Um, what are our rights toward each other? What are our um, responsibilities toward each other? Um, I remember sometime 20, 30 years ago, I'm getting of the age that everything is like 20 years ago. Yeah, that was like half a century ago, but yeah, this seems like just 20 years. Um, um, there was a woman, a black activist. I know it was one of three or four women that I was following. Um, uh, I'm not a stalker. I was paying attention to their writings. Um, and someone asked them about the ecological movement. And this was said, thinking that it was funny, that the only right that a chicken has is to die, get cut up, and get in my frying pan. Ha 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 ha. And then that was the end of that. I didn't laugh. Um, and I didn't laugh because I am I wasn't particularly sophisticated at that time, but I was thinking, well, chickens ought to have some. I mean, like I should be in relationship with that chicken. Okay. Um, we have we as the children of slaves have had um people laughing at us for a few hundred years. So not only was it that we were enslaved, the people who were doing the enslaving thought it was funny. And if you look at the movies, starting with Birth of a Nation, all the way back to, well, whatever's going into Hollywood right now, all of it is looking at characters who are buffoons, who are nonsensical, who are stupid, who are lazy, who are ignorant. And all of this is to justify one's attitude towards oneself that I'm superior. Um, and For those of you who know me, you know I watch a lot of old movies, 1930s, 40s, and 50s. Black and white lives forever. And actually, unfortunately, it doesn't. Um, and uh, when I look at the relationships between whites and blacks, whites and Asians. We have Charlie Chan, Mr. Moto, all these other. Then you've got the whites and Indians, the noble savages, and then the ones that are trying to cut your throat. And then white men and women. And that's another joking relationship. Ha ha ha. What makes you think you can solve this crime? Uh, um, um, you get over there where it's safe. Let the men take care of this issue here, because that's what men do. Um, and all of that makes up your Constitution. How we see each other makes up your Constitution. Seeing, seeing your, um, seeing whether or not you even think of yourself as part of a society makes up your Constitution. And that's why I'm saying that if we're going to do a new Constitution, it's got to be we, the living beings, as opposed to we the people, or we the subset of these people over here. Okay. Um, I'm In order to do justice to this subject, I'd need another 2 or 3 hours. So we'll just take it right now. No, we won't. um, the uh, but I do have, and I think that you noticed, I hope you noticed that starting on the 19th and the 20th, we will be spending 4 hours, not in conversation about this, not me going blah, 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 and you listening, but us discussing together what goes into a constitution for the earth. One of the things, if okay, I'm one of the few people who's actually read the Constitution, had to do it for law school. Actually, I read it before then. It's like I don't understand this at all. You need to go through law school in order to understand it. And how do we have that govern our behavior when so few of us have actually read the document? Okay. Most people, all they know about is their favorite amendment to the document. If you're a gun nut, then you Second Amendment. And if you have trouble with the law, Fifth Amendment. And if you don't have trouble with the law and you're not a gun nut, you can ignore the whole thing. Okay. Um, but what do we almost 90% of the things that are there are put there because we don't trust each other. You have these checks and balances, you have these laws, and you have those um, responsibilities, etc. What would happen when we are acting holonically with each other? When we can know literally the heart and the soul and the consciousness of the other beings that we're dealing with, that we open ourselves to knowing that, and that we can be in relationship with them without being told to do so. How would that society even work? Um, when my I, native friends in this area, um, the people whose food in balanced times, we're in unbalanced times now. Um, when their food supply was salmon, it was primarily salmon, and they would in a month catch enough salmon to last their group, their band, their tribe a year. That's a lot of salmon. And they weren't the only ones taking the salmon out of the river. There are many groups who are coming to the Columbia River for their month, taking out their year's worth of salmon. And the way they did that, the way they did that was they caught one fish, and everyone in their tribe focused on this fish, thanked the Great Spirit for thanked the Great Spirit and thanked the fish for being there, for sustaining them, etc. By doing that every year, there was more and more and more salmon in the river. What you focus on, you get more of. Now, Army Corps of Engineers comes along and dams the river and destroys the fishing platforms and disrupts an entire ecology and an entire um, uh, ecosystem because they wanted some electricity. Um, now they could have done it in such a way that would connect people, but they didn't. They chose not to. They didn't have to pay attention to them because they were Indians. Um, and that's as far as I can go right now. Um, we can talk more about this afterwards, but that means that we are going to have to talk about this once our catalyst meditation is completed. I've got to remember, I got to first, this was a monologue. This is very monologue. We get to talk about it at the top of the hour. And if, as you know, I need to go off camera for just a little bit to get my act together here. And so I will be back with you as soon as I can. And I'll be letting in more of our participants who are coming here just for the Catalyst meditation. And I'll be right back. Okay, here we go. I usually take my throat clearing sip of tea off camera, but there I was on camera. There's something wrong with my camera. Or maybe my head grew just in the last few minutes. Um, okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of our weekly Catalyst Meditation. Welcome to those who have joined us today. Welcome to those who've been following on the outline, and we have an anonymous mink on the outline today. The people who join us on the outline, I don't know what their names are, so Google shows them as an anonymous animal of some kind, and so today is the mink. Um, Welcome to those who have been with us in the past on the Catalyst meditation, but can't join us today, and may still be with us, but not in 3D here. We normally start our Catalyst meditation with our centering. We center on ourselves, but we also center on everyone else. And we also are centering ourselves on all beings on this planet. And we do that with a breathing exercise. And I have to adjust your audio so you can hear this. I knew there was one more screen. Okay, so we're going to breathe together for about 3 minutes, and then for another minute or two, we'll do a silent breathing. And so right now, if you can breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, And if we can continue our silent centering for another minute or two. And if we can come back to our mutual center, we'll continue with our catalyst meditation, and we'll continue by setting our intentions. As the imaginal cells within the chrysalis come together to form the butterfly out of the disintegrated caterpillar cells, we come together to form a gateway for the meta-consciousness of the mind of Gaia. We act for ourselves personally, and we act as aspects of Gaia. Holonic consciousness is a fundamental aspect of the universe. Every atom in the universe holds consciousness. It is always with us. We're acknowledging that now because many humans have forgotten and many humans have been in denial. We act to reawaken our connection to Gaia for the benefit of all living beings. And we acknowledge our connection to all beings. This connection includes all humans, including those who have gone before and those who are to come. All beings who thrive on and in the air. All beings who thrive on and in the water. All beings who thrive on and in the earth. All beings who thrive on and in our bodies. All beings that thrive on light, the beings of the plant realms. All meta beings, including the earth as a living meta being, air as a living meta being, fire as a living meta being, water as a living meta being, all colony beings, meta beings that are collections of solo beings, and this includes murmurations, colonies, schools, hives, pods, flocks, herds, migrations, harmonies, swarms, and other forms of colony beings, and all other forms of consciousness, known and unknown to us. Having acknowledged all beings, we now blend all of our energies. May all who are part of Gaia be connected to and in perfect health, harmony, and balance with each other and with Gaia for the common good. We are in perfect physical health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect emotional health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect relational health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect mental health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect spiritual health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect holonic health, harmony, and balance. We are in perfect spatial and temporal health, harmony, and balance. We are in the perfect place at the perfect time, in the perfect conditions, and with the perfect beings. We now set and we energize our declarations. We declare that Gaia is the ultimate governing principle, the way that humans govern their behavior on this planet, replacing all other forms of human governance. This is the way our behavior aligns with the will of the earth. We declare that humans are one family, one species, one destiny. Separations are illusory. We declare that humans are colony beings. We deepen and expand our human murmurations, our human harmonies. We declare that Gaia is providing all necessary resources to achieve the vision of a world that works for all living beings. We declare that we are creating a political and economic system where all beings participate in it, all beings are in relationship with it, all beings own it, all beings benefit from it, and all beings govern it for the common good. We will now meditate within this holonic energy, within this energy of Gaia. We'll be listening for any messages that we may receive that we can bring back to others. We'll be making any personal requests that we may have, and we'll be deepening and expanding our human experience of our human murmurations, our human harmonies. And we'll do that for between 8 to 10 minutes, and we're starting now. Okay, if we can come back to our common center, we will conclude with our inclusivity mantra. May I be well. May I be secure. May I be happy. May you be well. May you be secure. May you be happy. May we be well. May we be secure. May we be happy. And may all beings be well. May all beings be secure. May all beings be happy. And so it is, and so it shall be. And I want to say thank you to everyone, all of us, for being on our call today and sharing our energy. There are those of us who have to go to work, and over the next 3 to 5 minutes, they'll do so. And some of us can hang in here a little longer, in which case you should pick up your cup of whatever you've got to pick up and have a sip of whatever that may be. Within reason. And we'll see what we have to talk about. We know our rhythm here, which is if you got to say something, if you need to say something, if you want to say something, turn on your microphone, as I see Stacy just did. And if you want to wave your meat hand around so I can see you, because sometimes I'm not looking over at my list of microphones here. Or if you want to go ahead and put your digital hand up, and I can do that. Ta-da, there's my hand, and I can put it back down now. And can go from there. So Stacy, what's up in Stacy land?
Okay. So, what I'm about to say is not so much about what I'm going to say, but about the discomfort in saying it. And the reason I'm saying it is because it speaks to when you say, what is it that we owe each other? And when you talk about trust. Okay, now that I prefaced it, I just wanted to say that I'm pretty sure it's 3/5 and not 4/5. And that slaves were counted as 3/5 and not 4/5. And while that's not the important, but I just want to say, while that's not the part I wanted to share, I wanted to share the discomfort of like, even like, why should I feel like that fear? And I don't have it with you and I don't have it with the people in the room, but I thought it was a good example to use because normally I'm like, if the intent of something isn't changed, don't open your mouth. Shut up. But anyway, over.
Um, okay, I think you might be right. We'll find out in a second.
I agree. I teach this.
Well, shit, so do I, but I was wrong. That just because you teach it doesn't mean you can't be wrong. And I'm sorry, I don't even have to look it up because it's coming back to me now. The 3/5 compromise, Article 1, Section 2. Okay. So for the first time in within the last 30 years, I've been wrong about something on videotape, no less.
But
No.
how often have you been corrected? That's what, to
No.
me, that's
Oh,
the important piece.
no. And there okay, so that is a very important piece, a very serious important piece, because we let things slide. We don't want to be, like, setting up that's kind of a minor wave, a minor rocking of the boat. Um, um, this is an experiment that I actually do when I'm doing in-person work. Um, the room is set up. There's 5 people around the table, and I tell you, shoot, if I could, it's buried in my other files, but there's this diagram. Um, line A is about 2 inches long. Line B is about 4 inches long. Line C is about 6 inches long. And I will ask the group to go around the room, around the table, which line is the longest, A, B, or C. And I go to the first person and they say B. So the 4 inch line is the tallest, is the longest. Second person says B. Third person says B. The fourth person says B. You're the fifth person. What are you going to say?
You're
And
asking me.
no. I am because
Okay.
of the subject that we're talking about right now, you can see that it's a setup.
Right.
The other 4 people at the table are part of the experiment. They're told that before we even start, say B, say B, say B.
Right.
There's tremendous pressure for you to say B.
Right.
Most of the participants will say B. Um, when asked in such an obvious situation, why would you do that? They say things like, I must have misunderstood the directions. Um, I, I'm looking at this the wrong way. Um, I didn't want to stand out. I didn't want to, call attention to myself. I didn't want to criticize the teacher. Um, lots and lots of different reasons, but the bottom line is they did that. Um, they do that. We do that. We conform. Once we're aware of it, we'll do that less. And one of the things that I do in the work in the work that I'm doing is bye, see you. um, let's see. That's the only other guy that. Oh no, Greg is in the room. Okay, so Greg and I will have to hold down the fort of manhood here. Um, the so it's a heavy burden, but yeah. um, the so yeah, so this is something that is very um very powerful. It's part of the process where we come into uh come to grips with who we actually are. We will have to come to grips with that in order for us to really be um for us to be whole and to create a whole society. We have to do that. Um, it's and we've got to get past the discomfort, the dislocutions, the dis-ease around that. We have to set up safe um, uh, villages, safe societies in order to do that. And we've had uh, a good track record of doing that, and I'm looking forward to doing that more in our future. I wanna say something, and I think this is right along the same lines, but I want to say something that I okay, when we are sitting together in holonic energy, if unless you are, the world's perfect meditator and nothing ever comes up for you, your mind is like a still pond. Your thoughts will bubble up. Sometimes those are just the thoughts you've got going on in your head. Like, did I actually turn on the audio stream? Did I do such and such a thing? I mean, just that kind of stuff. Um, um, but sometimes these are messages, and these are messages for me, in which case I don't tell you, or they're messages for me and all of us, or they are messages for somebody else in the room. Um, and so one of the things that came up during our holonic meditation here for me was to talk about what I wrote down was the women's revolution. Um, I've done interesting work around the world, and one of the things we did was number one was we stopped a shooting war, which I think is a really cool thing. Um, we stopped the shooting war without shooting ourselves. Okay, but then we started the process of how do we knit this back together? How do we create? And this was in Sri Lanka. How do we create a society of all? Now, I wasn't trying to bring in, non-human beings. We needed to come together as human beings first. I mean, we had just gotten finished killing each other because you spoke a different language. Now, I can't look at somebody and tell whether they're Sinhalese or Tamil. I can't. I defy anybody to be able to do that. Um, um, Tamils tend to be taller than Sinhalese, but you can see some really tall Sinhalese and some really short Tamils. Um, Tamils tend to be darker than Sinhalese, but you can see some very light skin um, Tamils and some very dark skinned Sinhalese. You can't look at them. You can't, what you can do is listen to their language. Um, so how do you bring together these people who were so convinced that they were separate that um, they would offer themselves to be killed and they would kill others for this notion of separation? We created a process which was really successful until it stopped. And the people who stopped it were the people who were very, very interested in the war starting again. And it started again. And it got terrible. And it ended in a terrible way. But we had this 5-year piece of possibility there. Now, I know all that stuff. I was there helping to put this together. So when we talk about, we will start a process that brings all of us together, not just all of us humans, but all of us other beings also. Um, I've got confidence that we can do it. It's just that we got to get enough we's in the room for that to happen. I got more to say about that, but Jenna's got her hand up, and I can see it right there. And she is going to unmute herself and say something.
Uh, I actually put it up just as you were starting into your comment. Mine's different. So if you want to complete what you were saying.
Are you back on what Stacy was saying? Or is
No,
it something new?
something new.
Okay, let me finish then. Thank you. So, my intention with regard to what we'll be doing this starting in September, actually starting next week, but really starting in September, is to start the process where we continue to learn about what it will take to create a new society while we're creating it. Okay. To help us um uh to to not learn this in an way. I mean, I can set up a series of classes on the mechanics of constitutional writing, or even the mechanics of consciousness. Okay, but rather than do that, let's exercise all these things. Let's exercise them together, and this is very important. Let's get to a point where you are inviting people into this, like, I'm in this strange group and we're talking about writing a whole new constitution. Let's get in there and let's do such and such, where you start inviting people that you think of as your adversaries, people that do, like, yeah, it's one thing for you to say, oh, I'm a Trump voter and you're an anti-Trump voter. Why don't we get together in some common ground and see where we actually agree and disagree with each other, etc., because this can be that common ground. Okay. Okay, I'm now done. And Jenna, you are now going to unmute yourself.
Mhm.
And
Uh, so what came in during the meditation today for me was this question: how it's still a stretch for me to consider all living beings in one society. But what came in was this: there are times where there are individual needs, or perhaps, not sure about this, that the way it came in today was, how do we balance individual needs and holonic needs?
um, that is such a setup question that I want to I want everybody to know I didn't ask you to ask that question. Okay, that was really your question, and this is me not jumping up and down in my seat saying, "Yeah, yeah, we got to talk about that." Um, and I'll phrase this in terms of I'll phrase this in terms of um, my book, which just happens to be sitting here so that I can just pick it up here. Um, Chronicles of the Upheavals, and then the sister book, Chronicles of the Awakening. This is my weight training exercise for the day. I keep lifting these books up. um, so in Chronicles of the Upheavals, this issue is addressed with some degrees of discomfort in three different ways of looking at consciousness. You have the awakening centers, which are actively practicing the five latent powers, and how it comes up in the five latent powers is really interesting. Um, um, One of the chapters, the okay, so in these awakening centers, you've got young people who, some of them volunteers and some of them like literally right off the streets, and they are finding their way into this notion of a shared consciousness and not being brought up in that. They're like, what do you mean shared consciousness? And um when it comes up for them, it's very it can be difficult. Like, I don't want you understanding this part about me. Okay. Then you've got the leaders of the Awakening Center, and these are the monks and the masters. A monk is someone who, and this has nothing to do with religion. This is, well, nothing to do with religion. A monk is someone who's made a commitment to the Awakening Center. They've made a commitment to this notion of we are evolving our humanity, and I'm an active agent in that evolution. I'm consciously being part of the evolution. And a master is just someone who gets good at something, you know, something that the community actually needs. And they've studied it and they're doing it enough to say, yeah, sure, I'm here to be a resource for you. So and their mastery is obvious to everyone. For those of you who know anything about martial arts, after you get to black belt, the degree black belt, as one of my teachers said, simply means you're a serious student. Yeah, the folks who have the belts that are not black belts, you're a dabbler, So once you got a black belt, you're a serious student. And when somebody has a 25th degree black belt, they're a very serious student. Um, and so that's the first level of consciousness, is the consciousness we've got right now. The second level of consciousness are people who are in a society that they're actively practicing this opening of holonic consciousness. And then the third group in Chronicles of the Upheavals is called Unity. And Unity are the folks who have taken this holonic consciousness to a pretty deep degree. They have let go of their individual consciousness. They operate as one, and they have powers that freaks out everybody else, including the awakening centers. And so there's this tension between the awakening centers on the one hand and unity on the other hand. The tension being, unity has all these powers. They can, go zap us and turn us into turnips. Um, we we can't trust them. And unity is saying, why not? We are with you, and we're with you more than you're with yourself. So why can't you trust us? Um, so we're in this multi-level, multi-story building, and everybody can look down through these glass floors to see the people who have fewer, have less holonic consciousness than they do, but they can't see up. And they're distrustful for these people who are up, who have more holonic consciousness, and they can't see them. And what they learn to do over let's see, I guess this is about uh 400 pages per book. Let's say about over the course of 800 pages is learn how to trust each other. Um, and it's a rocky road, but they do. So I think that that's uh, Unity as the organization that's in the book. Okay, um, has this balance between individual needs and holonic needs by saying the individual doesn't have any needs. Basically, guess let's just get rid of individuals and um, we will be one even in our thinking, our living, etc. Um, the awakening centers say yes, there is a balance, and there are times when we need to act as one, and then there are times when um, I'm yeah, I'm a master. And so therefore I have something I can share with others that other beings don't have that capacity. Um, so I guess I'm saying is we're going to work it out, but in the books, it really takes some working out. So Jenna.
Okay, thank you for bringing that in because that gives me a starting point to just be present with. But it could be as simple as somebody has a headache that day, or um, their child is sick and they need to tend to them. That's an individual need. Or it could be when you mention the
I
masters.
think I disagree with you, but keep going. Yeah. On those issues, yeah, I think that your entire community has to be responsive
Mhm.
um, to what is actually happening, you know? Um, okay,
So,
I'm sorry, I cut across you. Keep going.
so what you just said there is saying the way I interpreted that is part of this shift is releasing our privacy.
Mm-mm. I'm
And
gonna cling to my privacy. Yeah, okay, like folks talk about their guns. When you take my cold, dead fingers from around my privacy. Okay, sure. I'm gonna be a little bit more serious today, just a little bit. Um, no, I right now
Mhm.
I try to live my life as an example of what I'm talking about. So, see if I can move my camera without destroying everything here. You will see that my windows are all, well, you can't really, oh, this kind of, all my windows are unscreened, and you can see into my apartment day and night. You can see every room of the apartment except my bedroom after a certain hour. Before a certain, you can even see the bedroom. Um, and the reason I do that is that I live my life out loud.
Mhm.
Um, I do have a private life, and when I have a private life, I close my windows, I close my screens, and yeah, you don't get to see this part. Um, and I draw that line differently than other people draw it. I have a neighbor right over there who never, ever, ever opens their blinds. It's um, it's creepy. Um, if I see them, it's only between when they're in between opening their or closing their window, and then they close the blinds again so that no one can see in. Um, no, I feel that each one of us has to make that as a decision and say this one thing, and then I'm going to run to my bathroom real quick. The tea is coming back. And I'm going to do that right now. Okay, be right back. And y'all can talk to each other.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. Does anybody else want to be part of this?
I have to leave, but thank you all. Take care.
Bye, Stacy.
Well, I guess I'd like to say, Jenna, that that's an interesting topic you brought up about privacy versus unity with the group, because, you know, it's certainly a boundary issue. And I think it's a fine balancing act, you know, and kind of depending on the circumstances, because, you know, it's sort of like not having anything to hide. But on the other hand, you know, I don't really like to have people I don't know well stomping around in my life, having opinions about things that I say and do that are valuable to me, you know. So, you know, so I think it's anytime you're dealing with a group action that kind of is something we don't usually talk about, but I think it's certainly not a bad thing to bring up on occasion, you know, that, you know, some people are closer to some people than others, and oh, and
Ernestine.
you know, and you know, that's fine and that's okay. And that part, you know, depending on what and who, you know, again, personal preference, you know.
I think Ernestine.
I guess what came to me is that you grow into an understanding or a consciousness of respect for everybody, wherever they are. Maintain, for me, I maintain my boundaries, but I respect that you have them too. So so we don't clash. It's just an open level of respect. I don't get knocked out of whatever because you are doing something I don't like. I let you do what you don't like as long as you don't cross my boundary. So we just respect each other. To me, like I say, everybody, it's kind of strange, but everybody's okay. I'm gonna leave you alone. You leave me alone. We get together where there's common ground. And that common ground, hopefully, is we're respecting each other. I'm done.
Really? I like it. I like that a lot, you know. So
I'm gonna push back a little tiny bit. If I see the Zoom connection breaking or see a brick come through my window, I may have pushed a little too hard here. But I I think that the places that we have problems is when we don't have a that common mutual respect. And the places in the book where that comes up, because again, we're talking about people who are committed to a new society. Okay, so the question is, what is your level of commitment? Okay. Um, and if you're really committed, you'll leave your blinds open like the way the rest of us do. And then that just gets to be, no, I'm not going to leave my blinds open. That's my way of being empowering myself. And it gets weird. Okay. Um, I,
There's also, you know, there's a lot of there's more privacy issues in our technological society today than there have been. And I think the sense of a lot of people is who is benefiting from information they're harvesting, number one. Second of all, that the lack of privacy as we used to have it may be contributing to a more control-oriented society rather than a group consciousness society.
Yes, and this is another thing. I keep saying, I keep wanting to do a workshop series on the things that come up in Chronicles of the Upheavals, because I cover a lot of that, like personal issues, societal issues, um, um, security issues, etc. And um, I I know I have. So let's say the average person has this much um, individual energy and then this much societal energy. Well, mine is narrow because I have a very specific mission and I keep mine narrow. But that narrow is um, very narrow. Um, you rarely hear me talk about my daughters, okay, or my family. That's not ground for you to be exploring. Um, um, Within certain limits. I mean, like if I was a wife beater, if I was, if I boil my children for breakfast, that would that wouldn't be a good breakfast. But yeah, then yeah, we need to talk about that. But um, yeah, that's part of my private sphere. Now, uh, if my eldest daughter and I have done a little bit of work together, and we keep knowing that we have more work that we can do together. If that were the case, then that she would then become part of the above level privacy, etc. But I think about the I have to keep saying the late. I can't believe he's really gone. Malidoma Some. Um, Years and years ago, when I knew him, he said, um, "The elders of my village have told me to come home because they found my wife for me."
Mm.
And I'm like, beg pardon? They found some woman that you'd like to date, maybe, but he said, no, he said, they know me better than I know myself.
Mm.
So if they're saying this is someone who's your match, I'm going to trust that. So he goes over there and says, "Hi, I'm Alabama. Let's get married." Okay. And well, that worked out for a number of years, but he took them into this society where you don't have a supporting network of family, community, culture, everything. What you've got is there's two of you, go and swim for it. Um, so at one point in time, this is when Sabonfu was first in the country. I was hanging out with them, and I was at their apartment, and they had on the TV, and the TV had something that was showing. And I remember, I'm not a TV watcher. So I'm like, how is this going to affect them? How's the fact that this thing which is such a big part of our lives, bigger than family, how's this going to affect them? And the answer from the ending of their marriage was obviously it didn't affect them very well. So in the awakening centers, there aren't any televisions. You don't get that, and you're missing a lot, but you're also getting a lot more and a lot different. So, one of my friends who's into television, um, says you should watch all the TV you make, and he's into making television. And right now, literally right now, we are making television. There are, and I'll let you know, I've got 4 people watching the live stream right now. So in addition to the 8 who are still on the call, there's another 3 or 4 people watching this. Last week when we did the live stream, there's 35 people who watched the live stream over the last week. So we're making TV. Yay! And our TV is a lot more healthy than almost anything else you could watch on there. Yay! And there will be people saying, "Why are you doing video? Video is evil." And then we'll work it all out. Jenna, you said something else earlier though, and I wanna go back to that, and then maybe wrap up here because we have a way of continuing. But you were talking about how do you balance out the needs of thousands, tens of thousands, millions, tens of millions, thousands of millions. I mean, we got billions of people on this planet. And the answer is really simple. How do you do it within your own body? You've got trillions of species in your body and trillions of beings of each species. You are like this galaxy of beings. You are expelling them on every breath. They're dripping off of you right now. I mean, what's going on in your gut is we can't even picture it. Okay. But it works 99% of the time. It works really, really well. And the more I try to listen to it, the more I can listen to it. And just the other day, I got I went to the store and I bought some kimchi. Now, I have not in the past been a kimchi fan. I've been like, I was dating an Asian woman who said, you should eat it. I was like, "No, I'm not eating that. And I'm not a sauerkraut fan. And um,
Oh, but there's a difference between the boiled sauerkraut and the fermented.
um, I'm not a sauerkraut fan. You gotta keep that stuff to
I'm not really either, but
right. And all of a sudden, the YouTube algorithm starts pushing kimchi at me. I listen to my algorithm masters, and so it's in my consciousness, and in my meditation, I put my hands on my gut and say, kimchi. And it's like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the being that could affect the YouTube algorithm to get this information into my brain. Okay. And I'm being both facetious and very serious about that. Okay. I'm sorry. Let's do. I got to make sure we're on the um, Kessler trip here. Okay. So so bought the kimchi, put it in my mouth, and everybody along the line said, "This is what you need. Keep doing this every single day." And I'm like, kimchi? Like, yep, yep, kimchi. So um did I don't know if all of us talked about Arthur Kessler, and um let's do this really quickly because this is really important, because when I'm saying that um the beings in my gut affected YouTube's algorithm, I'm not kidding. So Arthur Kessler was in about the 1930s or so, and did a whole bunch. I think he's written 40 or 50 books on the concept of coincidence and chance. Um, it's basically saying there's no such thing. Um, and he did an experiment which was really interesting. Um, this is before computers, so he invented something that he called a random number generator. The only thing it did is every few seconds it generated a random number. And um, if you know about um, standard distributions and things like that, if you keep flipping a coin, it'll be heads or tails. Um, Basically 50-50. The more you flip it, the closer you get to absolute 50-50. So he was looking at these numbers, and the only thing he wanted to see is whether the number was even or odd. So he generates 1,000 numbers. He generates 10,000 numbers. And it's half these numbers are even, half are odd. Okay. Um, he then hooks the random number generator up to a heat lamp. If the number is even, the lamp comes on. If the number is odd, the lamp goes off. Runs it through 10,000 numbers. And the numbers are 50-50. The lamp is on half the time and it's off half the time. He does it again, but this time he puts a tray of baby chickens, just hatched chickens, in front of the heat lamp. It runs the random number generator through 10,000 numbers, and that heat lamp stays on way past standard deviations, etc., way past chance. Um, Take the baby chickens away, and it goes right back to 50-50. Now, the random number generator is actually generating more even numbers when the chickens are present, and fewer numbers when the chickens are not present. So he then says, wait a minute, we still don't know what's going on here. So he makes this and turns this into a double blind. He says, maybe I'm the one affecting the random number generator because I want these cute little fuzzy baby chickens to be warm. So what he does is he gets a tray of fertile eggs about to be born, and a tray of hard-boiled eggs, which are really hard to be born. And he puts nothing in front of the light, the heat lamp, goes through 10,000 numbers, The heat lamp is at 50-50. The numbers are at 50-50, even and odd. And the heat lamp is at 50-50. And he's not putting us, he has a researcher put the trays in. They're only marked A and B. He doesn't know which one is which. They put the boiled eggs in front of the heat lamp, run it through 10,000 numbers, 50-50. Put the fertile eggs in front of the heat lamp, and the heat lamp stays on. So, in some way, our consciousness affects this. Now, we're doing that stuff right now. I'm talking about we on this call. Those of us who have experienced the disappearances and reappearances, whatever that mechanism is that keeps that random number generator punching out even numbers to keep those baby chicks warm, is what we're talking about accessing here.
Intentionality.
Whose intention? Baby chicks? Do they have it? And can you even recognize that a baby chicken has an intentionality? Can you recognize that a paramecium has an intentionality for me to eat kimchi? You know?
I think that's a human bias, your statement just now, because it's implying that
Me? Bias?
that what humans know is something greater than what some other life form may need or know.
Yeah, well, yes, I'm absolutely saying that. I don't need no stinking kimchi. Okay. So if what I am doing is looking at my human intentionality, me going to the store at night for one thing was nuts. Okay. And so I did it. And like I said, when I ate it, it was like, you really need this. We are really happy. We're happy with you going to the store. Everything is really cool here. And
So in your holonic consciousness and this catalyst meditation that you've created and been leading for a year or so, there's that aspect of your physical being that's communicating with you.
yes, but I'm not going to call that my intention. Um, I don't want to get too far afield here, and we may need to have a whole session just on this. But when, as most of you know, I have had a number of experiences with the psychoactive plant medicine of ayahuasca.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, there's at least 4 or 5 intentions in here. And they, during ayahuasca, they get voiced. And I'm like, whoa, who the heck is that? Where'd you come from? And why don't you shut up? So, okay, I'm going to tell you one real quick story, and then we're going to we're going to try to wrap this up.
Okay,
This is,
so we
this
have
is,
not come to any resolution.
yes, and that's our resolution for today. The This is probably my second or my third ayahuasca journey. I've had 5 over the course of the past 11 or 12 years, and I may be due for one. And ayahuasca is an important part of what we are doing right now. And I don't know what that means other than um, every time I have been on an ayahuasca journey, I've been journeying with people who are locked in their individual consciousness. They won't share anything. And I'm looking to have an ayahuasca experience with people who who know that there's a larger consciousness out here. Okay. So Then the third, yeah, I'm pretty sure it was the third. We're in a dark room, 30 of us. I mean, a very dark room. And, you see things. I mean, and all of us are seeing the same things, which is really interesting. So about halfway through, the healer, the entire time he's singing and chanting and drumming in Shipibo, in the language of the people who discovered ayahuasca, or who were the midwives of ayahuasca. And so I'm used to him drumming and singing, and he starts a song, and all 30 of us start singing the same song in Shipibo. Okay. Now, at that time, there are two of me in this body, and one of me is saying to the other one, "Shut up." You don't know how to sing in Shipibo. You don't know what you're doing. You're going to embarrass us, okay? You're going to do it wrong. You're going to mess up the whole room. Okay, so, and the other one was saying, "You shut up and take a deep breath because there's another stanza coming up." And so I took a deep breath and I start singing this other stanza, and and my the my thought I the so this one starts laughing, and like it, we sound really good. When was choir practice? And and we did sound good. All the men were singing the same notes that the healer, that our leader, was singing. All the women were singing an octave above, and some of the women were singing harmony. They're singing harmonics, and and I can't tell you right now what the song sounded like. I can't tell you anything about the song. I have no idea how words in Shipibo got in my mouth and came out in such a way that 30 of us could sing this song and sound really, really good. Okay, so that was about halfway through the experience, and other stuff happens, and we get to the end of the day. Um, we spend the night in that space. So just go to sleep in a space. You are not in any shape to be driving a car. And so that morning, and you stay there for the morning. We cook a mutual breakfast, and we do a debrief, and then you leave. So early in the morning, before the breakfast started, um, there was a woman who was not part of the usual group. She had not been in a group before. And she was walking from room to room, and she was saying something to herself. And this is her language. She was saying, "How the fuck could I sing that song?" And she's kind of going room to room, just like repeating that. And I saw she was in the middle of an existential crisis. So I called her over, and she repeated it to me. And she said, this was her first ayahuasca experience. And she said, "I've read about ayahuasca, and I heard that things like this happen to people. I can accept that you," pointing to me, "sang a song in a language that you don't understand and you've never heard before. I can't accept that I did that. I don't, there's no way I could have done that, but I did it." And I said, number one, yes, you did it. I said, "You were sitting right next to me and you sound pretty good." She's one of the ones singing harmonics. Okay. Um, and I said, "This is a quandary." And I said, "You've got one or two choices. I said, "Oh, you have to turn your keys in when you come in," because he was like, "Oh yeah, sure, I can drive," and then wind up in a tree. Um, I said, "Go get your keys. Don't even say goodbye to people." I said, "Just go get your keys, get in your car, drive away, and make something up. Act like it didn't happen." Um, uh, that you only thought everybody was singing the same song, but we were really singing different songs. Just make something up and don't come back. So, um, or stay here and stay in this space of not knowing of this doesn't make any sense, but I'm going to be okay with it not making sense for a while. And to her credit, she stayed and she'd been back to the group, you know. But this is how um, deep, and I know that this sounds like Morpheus talking to Neo and offering him the blue and the red pills. Okay, um, that and yeah, you can believe whatever you want to believe, and that's what a lot of people believe. Just kind of make stuff up, you know. But if what we want to do is find out who we truly are, we stay in this space of not knowing. You stay in this space of um, this doesn't make sense in this context, but it makes all the sense in the world in this other context. Um, and it makes all the sense in the world of saying that whoever it was of the trillions and trillions of beings in my system, somebody needed some kimchi. Um, and that actually is opening the doors to other kinds of experiences.
Mhm.
So ayahuasca literally rips your doors off. Okay, I mean, like you don't you don't get any doors. I don't need no stinking doors. Um,
Mhm.
the kimchi paramecium, it got through, and I got the kimchi. And after I hang up here, I'm gonna go and make breakfast. I'm gonna throw some kimchi on top of my eggs and do something that would have never crossed my mind a month ago. Uh, is that your hand up? You
Yes.
didn't move
Yeah.
around.
I just want to make a quick comment about the baby chicks that that actually makes sense to me because they're living beings. They have sentience. They have group sentience because they were all born together. They're all siblings, at least more or less. We don't know the the details there, but
Yeah, we don't
but
get too personal.
right,
The
exactly.
chickens need privacy too. So.
Right, they're all born more or less together. So it makes total sense to me that, and I'm wondering if we're dealing with a semantic issue. Do they have intention? I don't know, but they have sentience. They have experience. They have sensation. So it makes total sense to me that they're like going, warm, yes, yes. They're responding positively to the warmth, because that's what they need to survive. And
Okay,
that's what they would get from their mother if they hadn't been taken away from the mother. That's what they get from her, so.
all that is true, yes. But how do you influence the mechanism of a random number generator? How do you do that? Okay. I
That's
don't know how
our
to do
brain.
that.
That's our
Well,
brain.
through the connectedness. It's through the connection, the energetic connection. Yeah, I understand it's not a living thing, but the chicks are a living thing. And I guess the leap of faith, the leap that our minds are having trouble with is how can the living thing influence the not living thing?
Well,
Yep.
I
Anybody got
think
I don't
that's
know.
I
I
think
don't have a
that's our
problem with that particularly. I mean, it's sort of like it's the kimchi issue. You're living friends in your belly are going, yes, yes, go get some,
I want
and then
you
it
to-
shows up on Google. So, I mean,
I want you to understand, though, how weird that sounds to anybody
oh,
who
I
has
know,
not had
I
experience with
do understand that.
it. Yeah, and yeah, I am I've um
It's our conditioning.
Well, I simply
no,
will say,
it's more than conditioning. So I don't accept the chickens affecting a random number generator, but I do. Okay, there's two of me. One of
we have our little rock friends.
Yep.
This is not living in the same sense that we are. It doesn't have a body. Does it have sentience? Maybe, but
Uh,
there's energy that comes from stones. And a lot of people think you're crazy. A lot of people think I'm weird, but
yeah,
if you
I think you're
experience, if
weird, but
you,
but
yeah,
that is
if
uh,
it's like we're talking about the five powers. The more you tune into, the more you feel, the more you can see, the more you feel. You feel the plants talking to you. You feel your gut talking to you. You feel the energy from your little rock friends. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where if you don't experience it, yes, it sounds really weird, but when you start to experience it through the meditation, because it takes you there, then it becomes less weird.
okay. I found something. I want to say this real quick, and then we're gonna
And we need to go. I know.
Yeah.
hang up here. I'm finding too many of the wrong things. Let's try this one. So I did something when I was in Sri Lanka. Um, I had an experience. You have your crystal pendulum.
Mhm.
I use coin tosses the way that I Ching does. And what I do is ask a question, hold three coins, toss the coins. Three heads means definitely yes. Two heads and a tail means definitely no. Um, two heads is tending toward yes, two tails is tending toward no. And this was something, and I realize in hindsight I shouldn't have been asking about. It should not have been, this should not have even been a question for me. I threw the coins and I got one head, one tail, and one coin standing right up on its edge. A picture of that.
Hmm.
Okay. Now,
Hmm.
that doesn't happen often. Okay. Um, I got another picture.
Is it so? Is that a serious maybe then, or
This was a very serious. Why are you asking that as a question?
Hmm.
Okay. Let's try that one. I mean, that is I remember I was looking at it like, okay, it's gotta fall at some point, it's like, no, that coin is not gonna fall, and you should not have been asking that as a question. And I I learned to respect the fact that I have the ability to ask these questions, to ask the good questions, to honor the question, and not to not to mess with it, because this is the coins are messing right back. And so yeah, that was pretty cool. Okay, folks, this is way beyond where I thought we were going to be, but this is exactly where we needed to be. And we are going to, I hope you are signing up for the workshops Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, and then Tuesday and Wednesday of the following week. So we got 4 workshops coming up, 2 related on next week, 2 related on the following week. You got it in the flyer that you got yesterday, well, last night, or some of you even got this morning.
I
And
think some I think
so, yeah,
some of your dates are on Wednesdays.
yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday of next week,
Okay.
and then Tuesday and Wednesday of the following week. Okay. Look forward to it. I will talk to you at another